Welcome back to Steel City Sports. So today we're going to be taking a look at DraftKings win totals. So I have with me Jake here, who was on the podcast a long time ago, back in week 8 of the season? It was a long time ago.
Months ago.
But he's back today. So we're going to start off with the Kansas City Chiefs at 11.5. So for me, the Chiefs, they don't really value the regular season. It doesn't matter. As long as they're in the postseason, it doesn't really matter. So for 11.5, I'd probably go over by a small. I could see them winning like 12 games. And I think they did upgrade with Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, definitely.
Well, what you said about not really valuing, and it doesn't matter really. Even if they're a 9 or 10 win team, they're going to make it to the postseason. And they're not really that good in the regular season recently. So
I can't see them winning just 9 games.
I have them under 11.5 though.
You think like
just
10?
10 or 11.
Yeah.
Just under.
It definitely makes. I mean, they won 11 this year, right? And so
10 or 11, I say.
The regular, that doesn't matter. The Chiefs, it's kind of irrelevant to talk about the regular season for them. Kind of the same thing with the Niners next. They have it exactly 11.5.
Yeah.
I would probably go over that just because I think player for player, they're the best roster in the NFL. What do you think?
Same thing with Kansas City. I have them going under.
Okay.
I mean, they lost some guys, if I remember, in free agency.
No, I don't think they had a big loss. I mean, they lost. Did they lose Hargrave? Or no, they lost Armstead.
They lost Armstead, and then don't they have to pay all these guys?
Yeah,
so what's going on with that?
That's the big thing about Brandon Ayuk, because it's like he's in reports as of now. He's still on the team. Like if you lose him, that's a big fucking deal. Like Brandon Ayuk opens up the team. Like
Debo can't really do everything.
I really like Debo Samuel, but as a pure receiver, he's not a route runner. He's a yards after catch guy. He's a running back.
And he does a bunch of different things too.
He's a great gadget player, but Brandon Ayuk's probably your best pure receiver. So as of now, he's on the team. You got McCaffrey, you got Purdy making $2 a year.
Yeah.
The offensive line still needs some work, but
so yeah, like I said, I probably have him at 10 or 11 wins, just at that cusp.
I would actually go over, but we disagree on that. Next, we have our team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sure we won't ramble on this one. At 8.5, do you want to start?
Yeah, we obviously know what I'm going to say because I think all the additions they got in free agency would put them over 8.5 wins. I mean, that's kind of a silly thing to start them at. Additions.
Here's my take on this. You're telling me last year they won 10 games with our quarterbacks combined for how many touchdowns did they throw?
Probably 9.
No, it was probably like 12, something like that.
Because 6 and 7.
Russell Wilson, in a, quote, washed year, still threw 26 touchdowns. So you're telling me...
That's what we were missing, right?
Right. You're telling me we won 10 games last year with... I'm a big Kenny guy. I'll still fight for Kenny, but bad quarterback play last year, and we still won 10 games. Now you're getting me Russ. I get it. He's not Seattle Russ. He's not a superstar, but...
It should be over or under the wins they got last season.
Yeah, I mean, I would be very comfortable saying they're going to win 10, 11 games next year. Especially when you look at the defense. Patrick Queen is a game changer on that defense.
Did you take a look at their schedule for next season?
I didn't look at them.
I don't remember if they
are they released yet? Yeah, they are.
They are. Well, I can't remember it, but I think it's somewhat easy.
Well, we do have, I think, the toughest division in football.
Yeah, that's another thing to look at, but still, I have them over 8.5.
Yeah. I mean, our line is ascending. Broderick Jones, I think, is really coming along. We have one of the best running back tandems in the NFL. Russell Wilson, in his washed year, threw 26 touchdowns. You got playmakers all over the defense.
They had a good free agency.
Tomlin brings the stability. Like, the only glaring hole I see for the Steelers right now is wide receiver 2, with giving up Deontay Johnson.
They're going to need to fix that.
But, as we've seen, they're really good at drafting receivers.
Yep. So, with Baltimore, I'm going to say they're the opposite of Kansas City.
They're at 11.5.
11.5. They're the opposite of Kansas City, in my opinion. They're great in the regular season, and they stink in the playoffs.
Right.
So, I'm going to have them going over 11.5.
Yeah, I mean...
Because they have the talent to do it. They have, Lamar's there.
Especially when they added Derrick fucking Henry. Like, people act like he's washed.
I forgot about that.
Derrick Henry had over 1,200 yards last year. Like, Derrick Henry is still a force.
And Derrick Henry plus Lamar Jackson?
That is going to be...
What are you going to do?
As Steeler fans, that is fucking scary. Derrick Henry and Lamar in the same backfield is just scary.
And they still have a good defense despite losing.
Yeah, Pat Queen and Geno Stone.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, you got Roquan, arguably best linebacker in football. I think it's him and Warner. You got Yeah, Hamilton's really come around. I know we used to make fun of Kyle Hamilton a lot.
We bullied him a lot
when he first came in, but he's really come around.
Yeah.
They just paid Matabuke $1 billion to stick around, so
he's back.
I think they'll be good. I mean, they're well ran. Lamar's MVP. They got a nice roster. Zay Flowers is a stud. So let's take a look at Detroit, who I'm actually surprised 10.5 for Detroit. I could see them winning 13 games next year.
They didn't lose too many people either.
They didn't lose anyone.
The coach is still there. He's a good coach, despite his downfall.
But he's very aggressive to a T.
That can help you or hurt you, and in the case of this postseason, I think kind of hurt him a little.
Right. Well, that's. I think it's a conversation for another time. But definitely, it won them games.
Yeah.
Won them a lot of games doing that shit. So I can't really fault them for doing that. In terms of the team, though, they remind me of a young Niners team where they literally just have playmakers in every unit of the team.
And Goff just does his job.
Exactly.
He does more than his job, actually, recently.
Right.
So I have him over 10.5.
I think Goff's elite. And people think like the term game manager is a bad thing. Tom Brady was a fucking game manager. It's it's a style of play. And Goff is one of the most productive and efficient quarterbacks to go with those weapons. I love that running back tandem there of Gibbs and Montgomery. I would definitely hammer over that 10.5 wins for Detroit.
And then next you have the division rival Green Bay, 10.5.
That shocks me that they're the same, though.
Yeah, how?
Because Detroit just went to the NFC Championship game. They got like one of the best rosters in football. Green Bay, I get it.
I mean, because they almost beat San Fran, or I don't know.
Green Bay's cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to trash on Green Bay, but can we like pump the brakes a little?
Yeah, they're getting a little overhyped.
People are already starting to say they're like Super Bowl contending. It's like we saw Jordan Love play good for half a season.
He's good and all, but do we know? I have them.
Josh Jacobs was a sweet get though. I mean, you traded him out for Aaron Jones essentially, but
they lost Aaron Jones,
but Jacobs, I think, is definitely an upgrade there. Yeah. So they're going to be fun.
They have good receivers. Their defense, I don't know too much about their defense.
It's not very good.
Not very good.
Well, they got a new defensive coordinator. That was their big thing. Like they hated their defensive coordinator like we hated Canada. That's kind of how they felt about their DC. So they got a new one. Next is Jacksonville. I think, honestly, one of the most difficult teams to predict because
you look at what happened last season, like an epic fall.
They were 8-3,
and they ended what 8-7,
9-8, and they didn't make playoffs.
They ended 9-8 and missed playoffs. That's the total disaster. I don't know what to think about this team. I really don't.
And I didn't love their offseason either. Like losing Calvin Ridley and replacing him with Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis is at number 2 or 3.
At best. I would feel better with him as a 3, honestly. Yeah. I'm not a Gabe Davis guy at all.
Plus, is Lawrence the real deal? That's the big thing.
I made a video about this. Like, if you would have asked me a year ago about the Jags, I would have told you they're probably one of the brightest future teams. Because you remember that playoff game they beat the Chargers?
Oh, yeah, they came back.
They looked sweet.
They look good. They look great.
What the fuck happened this year? What happened? You can't even really explain it.
I can't even put my finger on exactly what did happen.
Like Lawrence got hurt, but even when he was back, like I just don't know. They really showed that they played with no fucking heart in that last game of the year.
They gave up.
I was watching it because the Steelers got in because of that, so I was glad that Tennessee won that game.
That was fun to watch, though.
But if you're Jacksonville, you're going against a 4-win Titans team. You only have to beat that team to get in the playoffs, and you go out there and give that pathetic of a fucking performance. Terrible. Buffalo's next. 10.5.
Buffalo's another weird team. Mm-hmm. They're good in the regular season. They're probably going to get over 10.5 wins, I would say.
They just cut like half their team, though.
Yeah, but Josh Allen is just a superhero. It's all on him.
That's true. I mean, anytime you got that guy,
and they make it all on him every time they play.
Yeah, I mean,
he just does everything.
But the defense is what kind of scares me because Trey White's gone.
They lost.
Hyde's gone.
Poyer.
No, I think Poyer's still there. Poyer's there. Hyde's gone. Hyde's still there.
Yeah.
Poyer's gone.
He's gone. He was a great piece of their defense.
He felt like the captain of the defense. You just cut him.
Buffalo's weird. I don't know how to.
And I don't love their head coach either, Sean McDermott. I get it.
Like your stance on defensive guys too. It's just not really that.
That's one thing, and then another thing. I think he's just. What he brings to the table as a coach, Buffalo doesn't really need anymore.
I'm not saying he's bad, just like
it's just
they don't need it anymore.
The fit is weird for me. I would get an offensive guy to go with Allen. We can go to Tampa now at 8.5.
Tampa Bay being at 8.5 is weird.
What do you think?
Maybe higher because they overperformed last year.
Well,
and I think Baker is going to be pretty good these next coming years.
Well, there's two big things for me about Tampa. Number one, they lost their offensive coordinator. He's Carolina's coach now. They're probably going to be running like the same offense, though, so that doesn't really worry me too much. But a big thing about Tampa that I think a lot of people don't talk about is they were actually like pretty rocky this past season. Like, I get it, they won a playoff game, they beat Philly, but there was a point in the season they were like 2-5. Like, they had kind of a rocky season to start off. They got hot at the end. That's what matters, but 8.5, I would do the over.
So 9.
I could see 9 or 10 wins is for Tampa. I mean, they brought all their guys back. They didn't lose anyone. They brought Mike Evans, Levante. They paid Winfield. So
do you think they overperformed last year? Then
yeah, because
how does this?
Because if you go back to 2022, Brady's last year, they won 9 games. So I was like, going into this year, I was like, you're telling me you had the GOAT on your team and you struggled to get in the playoffs. I was like, they're not going to be good. But Baker had his best year. Baker turned his career around.
He had a great year.
Next, speaking of the playoff game, Philadelphia.
Yeah, another
10.5
in the playoffs. But they're another hard team.
Well,
because
they got like the Avengers on offense now with Saquon Barkley.
That's right.
He's like the final Infinity Stone, honestly. Like, because you're telling me now you have Pro Bowl receiver, good tight end, best offensive line. Jalen Hurts, at his peak, was a runner-up for MVP and Saquon. If they're bad, everyone has to get fired. With that talent.
What you just said, yeah, all those guys. But the only thing I think, like you even said before, was the coach.
Yeah.
Sirianni is still there. I don't know why.
I touched on this, too, in another video, is I think a big reason why they had that massive, whatever you want to call it, self-destruction this past season, I think it's because their coordinators just sucked. Both their coordinators were terrible, and they've replaced both of them now. Vic Fangio on the defensive side of the ball, probably the best defensive coordinator in football, and Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is not a perfect OC, but we saw with Dak. Dak's kind of a similar player to Jalen. Like, I could see Kellen Moore being a lot better. What was Brian Johnson was their coordinator last year? He was a moron. Like, he was just in over his head.
That is,
he's gone. He lasted a year. So I think they upgraded and they can address their biggest need in the draft, which is secondary. They can go in Nate Wiggins, some of those other corner positions, you know. So I like the Eagles. I think I'm still higher on Jalen Hurts than a lot of other people. I would take over 10.5. What do you think?
I would probably take like under.
Under?
Yeah, I just don't. I'm not big on Philadelphia.
There's a world that exists where they just fucking explode.
Something just
like they implode.
Yeah, an absolute disaster.
They start off like 0-3. Sirianni's gone.
He's gone, and then they got to rethink everything.
It's a mess. So yeah, I could see that world too.
So,
but
yeah,
I saw them get to a Super Bowl not that long ago. Seattle.
I think 7.5 is perfect. Maybe 8. Over 8.5, but
yeah,
because they're nothing special in my eyes.
They won 9.
Geno Smith.
9 games the past 2 years.
He's not. I mean,
they brought in Sam Howell.
Yeah,
big whoop there.
Big whoop. What was the point? They should have just waited. Well, they didn't have a good draft pick.
Well, another thing, the biggest thing for them is Pete Carroll's gone.
Yeah,
and
I did forget about that.
I think that's the right move because Pete Carroll's a defensive guy, but they had one of the worst defenses last year. Like, their defense was bad despite having good defensive personnel. It's like, Pete, we love you. We got a Super Bowl with you. Get the fuck out. You're not producing. You got to go. That we saw. If it can happen to Belichick, it can happen to anybody. And the guy they brought in, I like a lot, Mike McDonald. Knowing him, I mean,
is he Baltimore's defensive?
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were just the best defense in football. They got players on that defense.
Yeah, they do. What's his name? Woolen?
Yeah, Tariq Woolen. You got Witherspoon. And they just add, like, a good pass rusher in the draft. That defense is going to be solid. You got pieces on the offense. I mean, really the only thing you need on offense is quarterback.
Yeah, Geno Smith isn't going to cut it anymore.
He's fine.
He's okay, but he's not going to win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's going to be the repeat of the last 2 years with Geno. 9 wins. So, yeah, I would go over 8.5 by a smidge there. The Giants, oh, God.
They're a total disaster.
Now, this is one of the ones where I actually go under for 6.5. Yeah, I think the Giants are going to suck.
You think like 6 wins?
I think like 4.
Okay, Daniel Jones is terrible.
He's like,
he shouldn't even be employed by the NFL.
The year he had that got him that contract, he threw 15 touchdowns.
He's making $40 million a year
on 15 touchdowns. Like, what the hell are we doing?
What happened?
And also, I think you can argue the Giants have the worst wide receiver core in football. And they won 6 games last year with Saquon. You take him out. He was the only productive offensive player you had. He's gone now. You won 6 with him. I think he's probably valuable enough for 3 wins. That means they're probably a 3-win team next year. Their defense is going to be sweet. Brian Burns.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones.
He's not good.
Awful. Terrible receivers.
Yeah. Okay, I would say under 2, probably 6, 5,
I
6
think
wins.
4 for the Giants.
I'll give them a couple.
Honestly. The Rams is interesting. 8.5. I would hammer the over.
I would hammer the over.
I would actually bet money on that.
I would say the over, yeah. Because they're up and coming now.
They won 10 games last year as a rebuilding team. They were not supposed to be good last year. A lot of people thought they'd be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes.
They hit on a lot of draft picks.
Yeah.
Luka.
Kobe Turner.
Guy, Kobe Turner.
He led their team in sacks as a rookie with a guy named Aaron Donald on the team. And also, they completely rebuilt their offensive line in an offseason. Us as Steelers fans, we've struggled with bad lines. We know how important that is. Sean McVay did it in an offseason. He just flipped it.
And then, of course, you have Cooper Kupp there.
Yeah.
And then Stafford kind of had a little resurgence because I thought the year before he was going to be a mess.
Well, it's because of the injuries. That's always the thing with Stafford. Kyron Williams, stud at running back.
Luka's a beast.
The big thing, though, I don't know. It depends. Do you think Aaron Donald retiring is going to impact the team that much? Obviously, from a locker room standpoint.
I hate to say it, but I don't think he was really that crazily impactful.
He had 8 sacks.
He's
good.
He's still great.
But he wasn't Aaron Donald.
So I don't think he'll have a huge impact. But
yeah.
It's going to obviously.
And I could see, honestly, maybe even him coming back. Do you remember?
Rethinking it, yeah.
Do you remember Eric Weddle, the safety? He retired, and then they got to the playoffs, and he came back for their Super Bowl run. So it's if they win 11 games, they're in the playoffs. Aaron Donald, call him up. It's let's go get another ring. I can see that, definitely. The Chargers, 8.5. They won 5 games last year.
The Chargers, okay.
Herbert's your boy.
I know, I love Herbert. They got a new coach, didn't they?
Jim Harbaugh.
Okay, yeah, they got Jim Harbaugh.
Let's hear your great Chargers rant, because Herbert is your boy.
Herbert needs to just go to a different team.
No.
Yes.
No, they got him a coach.
I'm sorry.
They got him a coach.
I don't know how much is that going to change.
That will change everything, I think.
They got rid of Keenan Allen. I love Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen's a stud.
The defense, they still have the defensive guys, but I just don't.
Listen, Jake, Justin Herbert's entire tenure, he was dealing with fucking incompetent people as head coaches. Anthony Lynn, good coordinator, terrible head coach. And then there's he who shall not be named, public enemy number 1 on this channel. If you're a long-time listener, you know who I'm talking about. We don't even say his name anymore. So now you go out there and get him a legit A-plus head coach. Jim Harbaugh, everywhere he's gone, has produced. San Diego State, Stanford, San Francisco, Michigan, everywhere, turns the program around.
That changes. I forgot about him.
And now you give him a top 5 quarterback in Justin Herbert, and they have the 5th overall pick. They can get Malik Neighbors.
Okay. I think they have a good future then, because you reminded me about the Harbaugh thing.
Yeah.
That changes it.
8.5.
Yeah.
I would say 10. I could see 10, maybe even 11. And I love under the radar. Gus Edwards, I think, was a great signing as well. He fits that Harbaugh mold of physicality really well. So I like their offseason.
I hope they.
You obviously don't like getting rid of Keenan Allen for a mop handle, but
yeah, that's stupid.
Like I said, you can address that in the draft.
Yeah, so I'm a big Herbert guy. We'll see if he can finally get this done.
Houston, 9.5.
I'm hammering the over.
Yeah.
Because what did they were great. They overperformed last year.
Yeah, well,
they're going to be better.
That division's really interesting, I think. With Jacksonville we just talked about and Houston now. That division kind of feels like a little wide open because Houston, I loved their year. CJ's a stud, but are you going to pencil them in to automatically do that? We've seen one-hit wonders. Not saying he's going to be that, but it was 1 year.
I would honestly have Houston winning the division.
I think we're going to talk about. I have a really under-the-radar team in that division that we're going to talk about, but
I have them over 9.5.
Yeah,
just because
I would say 10 makes a lot of sense. Cleveland 8.5. And
that's a weird team because they're so inconsistent every year.
And we're not going to hide it. We fucking hate the Browns. We hate the Browns.
I'm probably going to be a little biased. But they're just inconsistent every year. It's either they're bad, they're good, they're good.
Well, it's like
the past 5 years.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They do change a lot. But I think it all comes down to one guy, Deshaun Watson. And I think at this
we
point,
don't know too much about.
I think at this point it would be naive to think he's going to be elite again.
He's done. He's done.
The last time we saw Deshaun Watson at an elite level was 4 fucking years ago, 2020.
Yeah.
And it's so...
They massively overpaid for
I
him.
think
they were just in a mess, I think.
It's naive to assume he's ever going to be at that level ever again, because we've seen him in Cleveland for 2 years now. Has he ever had a good game in a Cleveland Browns uniform?
I don't think.
No.
No. Well, they played the Ravens once and he was okay.
Well, he was okay for that half, and then he got hurt.
Then he got hurt. We're gonna.
Yeah, and Nick Chubb's coming off of a very gruesome injury. I mean, he's their best player. Or no, Garrett would be their best, but Chubb, their best offensive player. I don't know. Is he going to be the same? You're the athletic trainer guy.
He's had 2 injuries to that same knee with ACL, MCI. I doubt he's going to be.
You think he's going to?
He's not going to be able to make cuts.
He's going to miss a step now.
He's going to be. I personally would think he's not going to be the same.
It makes sense. We've seen it happen how many times? It's a shame.
Yeah.
I did like them, though, grabbing Jerry Jeudy for a bucket of popcorn.
But then they gave him some really ridiculous
That's true.
contract.
The contract is weird.
They gave him a ridiculous contract.
Yeah, that is
3
true.
years, 58, yeah.
That makes no sense.
What is that? That's a lot of money.
A guy that has never played a down of football on your team, and you just gave him $50 million?
Their front office is just silly.
Yeah, and I think their owner sucks as well.
But yeah.
Where are we at? Carolina, 4.5. Wow. That's tied for the worst with New England.
Disrespectful.
Really? You're taking the over?
No, I mean, it's not disrespectful. That's just the trash.
Disgraceful is what it is.
Disgraceful.
Disgusting.
That's the right word.
Yeah.
Carolina. So what happened with them in the offseason?
They are a joke. They got our guy Deontay.
Yeah, but he's going to just...
he's
going to run.
What's your Deontay take?
He's going to Carolina to do what?
Yeah. He's going to have Bryce Young. I mean, he was pissed.
He had, 9 touchdowns and 11 interceptions?
Bryce Young? I don't even know.
He had some horrible stats.
But Deontay was pissed about our quarterback situation. Yeah. Look at where he's going now.
Bro, you're going to look at this team.
Bryce Young, I feel bad. He's tiny. The pictures of Bryce Young look fake when he's standing next to other NFL level players.
I just don't think he's an NFL quarterback. Who knows?
That's a shame.
He only played 1 year, though. I can't say that.
But he was really bad. He's just small. He's really fucking small.
He didn't look like he knew what he was doing.
And I don't know. I don't love their head coach hire, Dave Canales, Tampa's OC. It's I don't think any other team in the NFL would have hired that guy as a head coach.
I don't know who that is.
He was Baker's OC this past year.
I guess what happened? What was Frank Wright's deal? What was Frank Wright's deal?
He's a one and done.
That's weird.
I don't get that. Do I think Frank Reich is an elite coach? No, but was he bad enough to be a one and done? There's 5 guys in the history of the NFL who have been one and done coaches. Frank Reich's not that bad. So whatever. They're paying him $70 million to sit on his couch, and they're still paying Matt Rule as well. They're paying 2 guys.
They're a disaster.
Tens of millions of dollars to sit at home.
I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. They're gonna get 5 wins.
I'm going under. I think.
I'll take 5.
I think maybe a win.
That is insane.
Honestly, think about it. Offense. Bryce Young, probably the worst quarterback in the NFL as a starter. And defensively, what do you have on defense? The only defensive player that was
Brian Burns.
Brian Burns was their only bright spot. He's gone.
They could have a lot more.
They could go winless. They could go winless. I'm going under. They're awful.
I'll give them a couple funny fake wins.
Okay, maybe Bryce Young looks better, but I would say the odds are against it. Here's an interesting one: Atlanta at 10.5.
The Kirk Cousins thing was, I think, a home run hit. I love that sign.
Yeah.
I love it.
For that division?
Look at the weapons you got on offense now that you can actually probably use
right.
for once.
And I've said this again. When I was talking about Devontae with the Raiders, I'm like, it's sweet to have that level of player, but if there's no one to throw him the damn ball, why does it matter if you got a sweet receiver? In Atlanta, you got a bunch of those guys now.
And then I like that they signed Raheem Morris, because isn't he? Yeah. I know that name's pretty good.
Raheem Morris?
Is that who it is?
You like his name?
No, not his name. You know what I mean.
He was the Rams DC.
Yeah.
He's been around a lot of different situations as well.
But getting a new coach in there, I mean.
Yeah. Well, I think Kirk's the big thing. And then you have the 8th overall pick as well. So
8th overall.
I think they're going to take Dallas Turner, the best pass rusher in the draft. You add that to Kirk. I think it's I ranked them over the Cowboys in my rankings. I really think that highly of Atlanta. Just given, even if Kirk Cousins coming off that injury is 80% of what he was, they're going to be sweet.
And they could easily win the division, too.
Easily. Next is the Colts, 8.5.
Well, you got Anthony Richardson coming back.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see too much of him, but from what it looks like, he can be a great quarterback.
I would bet on Steichen.
And Steichen took Gardner Minshew.
He made Jalen Hurts an MVP level QB, took him to a Super Bowl, and then won 9 games with Gardner Minshew this past year.
Almost got to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Almost won the division.
I think we're looking at like the next Sean McVay here with Shane Steichen. He's a genius. But the roster definitely needs a little work.
Needs work on defense.
Yeah, and receiver.
Secondary-wise. Yeah.
Outside of Pittman, they're really, really thin.
But
But
don't really have anyone outside of
you
him.
got the coach. It's going to come down to AR. If he can play, they're going to be sweet.
Yeah.
Miami, 10.5.
They're weird. I would have them over 10.5 though. 11.
I think they had one of the worst off seasons for many reasons.
I always think of Tua when I say that.
I would
He's
say
not really.
I'd probably go 9 wins for Miami. I'd go under.
9-8's fair.
Christian Wilkins, their best pass rusher, gone for nothing. The Raiders just took him away. You cannot fucking lose your homegrown pass rusher like that.
Pathetic.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what the cap situation is. You figure it out. You cannot let that guy out of the building. Xavier Howard, great corner, gone. Vic Fangio, defensive corner. You just let him leave. It's like, we got a signed contract. Oh, I'd rather go with the Eagles. Okay, go ahead. Like, no, that's what joke franchises do.
And then they signed Poyer, but
Poyer's fine, yeah, on a 1-year rental, but, that's not enough to really make up for who they lost. They're going to be fun. They're always going to be fun
to watch.
with that coach, with Tyreek, Tua, Waddle, the running backs. But I think I'm out on Miami. Like, I was a long-time Tua supporter, but go watch that game against the Chiefs in the playoffs. Wow.
Yeah, that was pathetic.
That was terrible. Like, he was just completely underthrowing guys. Like, in the mud, the ball was going.
He looked like a high school quarterback.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Next is Dallas, 10.5.
They didn't really do anything in the free agency.
Yeah, they let Tony Pollard walk.
That's it. They're the same.
Who's their running back? Deuce Vaughn is 2 feet tall. He makes Bryce Young look like a fucking giant.
They just needed to do something. Well, they're paying Dak $60 million a year,
yeah.
So they can't do anything.
And I won't even go off on my Dak tangent because I've talked enough about him. But I'm honestly taking under 10.5. I don't think Dallas is. I think they take a step back this next year. I could see 9-10 wins.
They always somehow pull out stupid wins out of their ass too. So I would probably say over 11 or some shit like that.
So they've won 12 games the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But I think that they did get a little worse.
They're just like Baltimore. They suck in the playoffs. So it doesn't
matter. The Jets at 9.5.
That's interesting, though, because I guess we're getting back Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going to say under. Even whenever, like, going into this past year, when Aaron was brought in, we're talking about before the injury, I still wasn't even a big fan of their team. I know they got Mike Williams, but you look at their top guys on offense are all injury prone. Aaron's obviously off that injury. Breece Hall had a gruesome injury in his rookie year. Mike Williams is always hurt. Their offensive line is made up of guys made of glass. So it's like
right.
Tyron Smith, Mekhi Becton, those guys can't stay healthy. Morgan Moses is 65 years old. So it's like, I don't know.
I would say barring like significant injury, their defense is
very good. Sweet.
And if their offense stays healthy, I think they could be. Who knows what Aaron Rodgers
That's for me though. That's a big if their offense stays healthy. How old is Aaron Rodgers? 39.
38, 39.
And we've talked about that injury enough.
And I did say he might not be the same coming back, but who knows? I mean, it's better than Zach Wilson. A fucked up Aaron Rodgers is better than Zach Wilson.
You're right, but still, I just think there's a lot working against them. The Raiders now 6.5. I'd take the over.
Yeah, give me the over on that.
They're a feisty team. They got some good players.
Their defense was pretty good last year too.
Yeah, I mean, Max Crosby.
Nice little defense.
We just talked about Wilkins. They stole away from Miami.
Wilkins. The only thing is quarterback.
Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
That's better than Aiden O'Connell. They won 8 games with Aiden O'Connell.
Where did the Raiders pick in the draft?
I think they're 11.
Can't get a quarterback there.
They're rumored to be a potential trade-up team. Maybe get a J.J. McCarthy. I cannot believe how much McCarthy is surging now. Like, people were saying he might go second overall.
Someone said he was going to go, like, really high.
Yeah, no, I don't think... There's no way.
He never showed me that much in college to make...
He had, like, 50 NFL players on his offense.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to bash him. It's just second overall is crazy for J.J. McCarthy.
But, yeah, the Raiders...
I'd go over 6.5.
Yeah, they're not going to be that bad.
Cincinnati, 10.5.
They're getting Burrow's coming back.
They won 9 games without
a decent amount of people. They lost Mixon. They lost.
Mixon's
gone.
They
might lose T. Higgins.
Yeah. As of now, he's still there.
And obviously you have Jamar, but
I think as long as Burrow and Jamar are healthy, they're a 10-win team.
Yeah, those two is all that matters.
I would probably go over, but I wouldn't be too confident on that because, again, similar to what I just said about the Jets, like if Aaron gets hurt, they're going to suck. The Bengals, now Burrow, he's got an injury thing. Like he gets hurt a lot.
He injured a lot, yeah. So I would say rate at 10 for them.
10, so I'd say under by a little bit there, yeah. The Saints at 7.5.
The Saints were a disaster last year. Derek Carr was just.
Derek Carr is an empty calories guy. Like he
provide much.
Yeah, I mean, he's bad when it matters, and then he pads his stats. Because, yeah, if you're down 20 in the fourth quarter, you're going to throw the ball. So his numbers are going to look better. And I don't know what the Saints saw from this team last year. They're like, yep, let's run that team back. Because they're bringing it back, the exact same team.
They did nothing in free agency.
And how's Dennis Allen a coach? Like, what?
Who even is that?
That's their head coach, Dennis
Allen.
Allen.
But, like, I'm just saying,
yeah.
Where do they get that guy from?
He was their DC, and I get it giving him a year after Peyton left, but
God.
Yeah.
Wow. Figure something out here.
Yeah, he's terrible. Now, here's my big one, Tennessee at 5.5. This is my big dark horse team.
Okay.
I think the Titans had it. They killed this offseason. Okay, so you got two legit receivers now, Calvin Ridley, D-Hop. You got a really nice running back tandem, Pollard and Spears. And they went out there and got a top 5 corner, L'Jarius Sneed, for a third-round pick. You go with that. Will Levis, I think, is actually going to be pretty good. He's got a cannon of an arm. Their new coach was Cincinnati's offensive coordinator, a guy who's been around Burrow a lot. So it's like, for me, they check a lot of boxes. Coach could potentially be really good. Their skills positions, they got great guys there. I love the L'Jarius Sneed acquire. They just paid L'Jarius Sneed a lot of money, but I think he's worth it, you know?
The only question in Mark is just Will Levis.
Yeah.
He showed he could be good, but we'll see.
I think he will be good. He's got the arm for it. He's got the athleticism. And 5.5 is really low. Like,
yeah, for that.
Yeah. They signed a lot of guys, so I could definitely see them winning like 8-9, maybe even threatening for the division. Like I said, they're my big.
And then they signed our former guy, Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph is a stud backup. I think Mason Rudolph's the best
backup
in the NFL right now.
Just does his job.
He's a stud. You remember that Seattle game?
That was amazing.
He was throwing missiles.
I'm glad he got another chance.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to get one with us. But
no. Denver 5.5.
Yeah. That's kind of.
I would say under. I think they're going to suck.
Who was their quarterback, Jarrett Stidham?
Yeah.
Who? That's not good.
Even if they draft one, I don't think one of those guys in the draft are going to be day one NFL starters. So you're running into next season with Jarrett Stidham as your starting quarterback.
They're going to lose probably Justin Simmons coming up here too.
They cut him.
Yeah, he's gone.
That's their second best defensive player. Jerry Jeudy went for a mop handle.
They're going to be just.
And Sean Payton, I don't know if he's a good coach anymore. Is he?
I don't even know what to think about him.
I don't either. I really don't. This past year was so bizarre, the stuff with Russ.
That was very. Yeah, I don't. 5.5 is kind of.
I think they're gonna suck.
6 or 7.
I could see 3 wins. Yeah, they're gonna be terrible.
I wasn't thinking about how bad Denver could be.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Because they won 8 games with Russ, who is decent. And now Jarrett Stidham. You're telling me, I don't know. I think it's a disaster.
But it's like they didn't even want Russ. Get out of here.
I felt like Sean Payton had a personal vendetta against Russell Wilson.
Something was wrong.
Something was off.
Because you don't just cut someone. You're paying him $38 million a year.
Thank you. And exactly. This is my other thing. Was Russell Wilson deserving of that contract? Absolutely not.
Terrible contract though.
But was Russell Wilson bad enough to pay him $40 million to play for a different team? No.
Hell no.
Exactly. That's what this all comes down to for Denver.
That makes me think there's an issue in
Sean Payton just hated him. But why did he take the job then?
Yeah, Denver's a mess.
That's all it comes down to for me is Russell Wilson was not bad enough to pay him $40 million to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He just wasn't that bad.
We're paying him $1 million.
Yeah.
Just had to add that in there.
Yeah. Washington 7.5.
I think Washington's going to be an interesting team because they pick.
Second.
They have high. They're going to obviously pick a quarterback.
Yeah. Drake May.
I would think May.
Or Daniels.
Daniels. I would think May. I think he's pretty good, but they lost some guys too on defense.
They added Bobby Wagner.
But they did add Bobby Wagner. They added some
Eckler.
old guys. They added
a bunch of vets.
Eckler's. They have good running backs besides Eckler.
I know. Yeah, they got Brian Robinson.
Antonio Gibson's good too.
I think he's gone.
I
don't remember where he went. McLaurin's stud. He's so underrated.
He's great. And then, who am I forgetting another receiver? Let me have another. I don't think anything special.
Well, yeah, Dan Quinn at coach is like okay. I don't hate Dan Quinn, but it's like that's probably who I would not have hired. You know my bias against defensive coaches. I'm probably going to go under 7.5, honestly, just for the fact that we don't know what the quarterback thing is. Like even if they get Drake May, what's Drake May going to do his rookie year? I don't know. So for me,
I'm going to go ahead and say over.
Okay, I'd take the under. New England 4.5. That's tied with Carolina for worst.
I don't think they're going to be that bad. They made some additions. They have a. They're going to obviously pick a quarterback in the draft and fix that.
You want to hear my take?
What's your
I think the Patriots are going to fucking suck next year.
So they're going to be.
They are going to be 17. Terrible next year.
What's your opinion on Gerard Mayo?
That makes me.
What is that?
I think that was the worst coaching hire because Gerard Mayo is going to walk in there and try to run Bill Belichick's system. You know who runs Bill Belichick's system really good?
Bill Belichick.
So it's like, why you're getting a watered down version of Bill Belichick. Like, I'm all in favor for firing Bill if we're going out there getting a young offensive mind, changing our culture around. But this fucking moron.
Where did he come from?
He's not a moron. I don't know anything about him. He was there. He played there.
He played there. That's why they signed.
Yeah, he was their linebacker coach the last year. So
okay. I don't know too much.
I shouldn't call him a moron because he's not. But what I mean is, you're running Bill Belichick's system. You just fucking had Bill Belichick. And
so they should have got someone that has more offensive.
That's what I would have done if you're getting rid of Bill. Or just keep Bill.
At that point, yeah.
Bill is still a genius on the defensive side of the football. I don't know. Whatever. Arizona 6.5. I would hammer the over. My boy Kyler has shown when healthy, the little fucker can still make plays.
Look at the last half of the last season.
Yeah, when he got back, he was still really good. And he showed when you give him an elite weapon, when he had D-Hop, they were awesome. They were one of the best duos in the league. Now they pick 4th overall. They get Marvin Harrison. That's going to be a sweet duo.
They get healthier on defense from last year.
Yeah.
They'll be pretty good.
And Gannon kind of impressed me. I thought he was going to suck. He was decent.
I'm obviously taking the over on that one, too.
Yeah.
6.5, yeah.
Bears 8.5.
We all know who they're picking in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Williams. I don't even need to say it, but I'll hammer the over.
Yeah, I could see 9.
I'll hammer the over.
I think they got a sweet roster.
They signed Jalen Johnson. He's a beast.
They got Kevin Byard, too.
Kevin Byard. Who's the running back they got?
Swift. They got Keenan Allen.
Maybe they can make some changes at offensive line, but I think it's okay.
Their other line's ascending, and they got the 9th pick overall as well. So they can take a Fuaga or Fashanu, or even if Joe Alt slides. I don't see Joe Alt sliding to that.
DJ Moore.
Keenan Allen. Yeah.
And then Caleb Williams, obviously. I think he'll be pretty
And their defense was awesome after they traded for Sweat. Like, Montez Sweat is a great impact player. Yeah, but it aged really well for them.
They made some dumb decisions, but they worked, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think that trade they did with Carolina might go down as the best trade ever. So they fleeced Carolina badly.
What was it again?
Well, they traded last year's pick, so they traded Bryce Young to the Panthers for Caleb and DJ Moore. So, yeah, they killed it.
They just stole Carolina's picks.
Yeah. And the last one is Minnesota, 6.5.
I don't think they're going to be very good. That's a mediocre. I think that's a mediocre team right there. Justin Jefferson's stuck.
Yeah, well,
you need to figure out a quarterback.
My thing with them is I think they have a lot going for them on the offensive side of the ball. You have 2 really good receivers, Jefferson and Addison. You have top 3 maybe tight end TJ Hawkinson. They signed Aaron Jones, so there's a lot to work with. But again, we said this earlier. It comes down to who's throwing the ball. Sam Darnold.
It looks like it because they signed him.
How the fuck anything else? How does Sam Darnold keep getting jobs?
And the other thing I hate is losing Danielle Hunter
for nothing. That guy put up 16 and a half sacks last year.
20 sacks.
Yeah.
For Danielle,
they let him just walk.
But it all comes down to the quarterback for them.
Sam Darnold, everywhere he's gone, has sucked. Like, it's not like he was in one place, he looked good there. Like, the Jets, disaster. Carolina, disaster. He was with the Niners this past year, did nothing there.
He was never an NFL quarterback.
Right.
He's a backup at best, maybe 3rd string.
Yeah.
So they got to figure out, where did they pick? Do they pick somewhere?
They're like 10 or 11 or something like that. They got to figure out. They're like, them and Denver, the 2 teams rumored the most to trade up for JJ. So we'll see.
We'll see.
That has been it for our reaction to the win totals. Jake, is there any place you want to shout out, your Instagram or anything?
No, I think I shouted it out last time.
Okay.
But you guys know who I am. I'll be back again.
He'll be back. So that's it. Please like and subscribe.